It's a Thursday morning in February, and I've just packed up camp. Yesterday, I poked around in the Oregon desert and eventually made my way into this striking canyon where I spent the night as the sole occupant of an amazing riverfront campground. This morning, I'm going to log some highway miles to get myself over to the next area I want to explore. Tomorrow, I'll be meeting up with Jason and others for the juniper thinning work crew with the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. That video is already out on the channel, so I'll put a link in the description if you want to see how that went. I still have another day before I need to be there, and I realized that with a small detour along the way, I could revisit a unique Oregon point of interest I haven't been to in nearly 15 years. If you're familiar with Oregon, you've possibly heard of the unusual geological feature called Painted Hills, which is one of 3 units comprising the John Day Fossil Beds National Monument. I first visited this area in 2009 on a family vacation with my now ex-wife and 2 kids. At the time, I wasn't really a backcountry explorer, avoided roads that weren't paved, and had never been dispersed camping in my life. We rented a little house in the nearby town of Mitchell for a few days and fanned out to the various units of the National Monument scattered in all directions. While today's flat light isn't showing the hills at their best, these bands of color are the result of geological processes spanning eons, primarily caused by the deposition of different minerals over time. Varying concentrations of iron oxides, magnesium, manganese, and silica contributed to the formation of these unusual bands emerging out of the otherwise typical desert landscape. So the colors here really pop or don't pop depending on the light, and obviously we've got a pretty dull, overcast gray day. When I came out here the first time, we parked and looking at it, and I was like, okay, that's nice, but I wasn't like super like blown away or anything. And I started chatting with another visitor out here and wasn't really looking at what was going on. Meanwhile, the sun apparently came out from behind some clouds, and my wife at the time was trying to get my attention. Donald, look. And I turned and whoa, all of a sudden it was just lit up. The colors were vibrant. It was just night and day from what I had been looking at 2 minutes ago. And I was like, holy. And my 9-year-old and 3-year-old kids were right there, and oops. In the meantime, I have since explored Utah on a couple of occasions where I regularly encountered similar and much more extensive bands of color that were so commonplace that they didn't have special names or protected status. It's just such a rare sight in Oregon that it has become a treasured landmark for us. Well, the Painted Hills is definitely an interesting and iconic Oregon landmark. Just a little further up the road is Painted Cove, and when I was here 15 years ago, this was a spot that really caught my eye. A short nature walk has been developed at this site to allow close-up viewing without damaging these fragile formations. Again, the color of this clay appears more subdued in this flat light, but becomes more vivid on a sunny day. It is nonetheless a pleasure to stroll again through this otherworldly landscape. Well, this has been really great to revisit. A lot of fun to check these unusual formations out. I'm not going to go into more depth than what I've talked about, but if you want to learn more about the Painted Hills in this area, be sure to check out my friend Matt Cook's video about this area. He is a very talented filmmaker. He makes like PBS quality documentaries, and he has made a video about Painted Hills, so there's no sense in me redoing what he's already done better than I could do. 15 years ago, this is as far as I got out here on a little family vacation. I've long since wondered what lies beyond, and I'm gonna go check it out.
My route today will take me through privately owned farms and ranches in the more fertile valley areas, but the surrounding desert hills are largely BLM lands. I've never explored this area beyond the touristy Painted Hills sites, so I'm just going to start poking up some roads and see what I find. I realize I'm being watched. This herd of mule deer takes a good look at me and apparently decides they don't like what they see. When I was planning this trip and examining satellite imagery, I spotted what looked maybe to be the foundation of a long-gone cabin, but in person, seeing the way these rocks are set into the hillside, I'm not entirely certain what this might have been.
This terrain is all much more rugged and dramatic than I anticipated. And check out this rock formation out here. I don't know if this road goes along there. I didn't know that was there, but I'm gonna see if I can get closer. Now, I did know about these ruins right down here. You can see them in satellite imagery. And I did also see this little road that goes down along to it, but it's on the other side of the creek. And I thought maybe I could go down that little road and walk across the creek if it was, just a small little trickle, but it is more than a small little trickle. And as far as I was able to tell, there was no way to get across the creek, at least no longer any way to get across the creek. So at least we got to look at it from above, and man, let's see if we can get closer to that rock.
I found a road that veered off my planned route towards that towering rock formation, but turns out this is as close as I can get. A swath of private land, plus a river with no bridge for miles, prevents me from approaching any closer. This is still getting me a pretty decent look at it, though. Something on the hillside catches my eye, and I realize there are a couple of bighorn sheep over there, and despite the river between us, they're keeping an eye on me. That is some incredibly beautiful country over there. I've quickly scoured the map, and it is almost entirely BLM land, but there are no roads over there approaching this rock. I guess I'll stick with my original plan this afternoon. Looking in the other direction, the area I was aiming for is not that far away as the crow flies, but the drive to get there is far from a straight line. I'm making my way down to a campsite I had spotted in satellite imagery when I was planning this trip. My plan is to go further up the river today, but I wanted to at least check this out along the way.
Do have some other spots that I was planning to look at, and so I will continue on along. If I ended up coming back here, this wouldn't be terrible. It's kind of a cool spot. I seem to be protected from the wind down here. It's all just calm and quiet and nice.
I had high hopes from this campsite based on the satellite imagery. It looked like a cool little spot on the river here with some rocks and some rocks over there. The campsite is like half flooded here. I think I might go back to the other one.
After a clear, cold night and a hot cup of coffee, I'm ready to hit the road towards Jason's campout. Consider hitting subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and thank you for watching.